API. And you know Facebook is not reading the language. So there's essentially 4 parts to the API. It can be confusing when you first get into it. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Is this thing on? I can mumble. So there's the API itself, which is a REST-like interface. Pretty standard stuff using get and post. Essentially provides a core set of data objects. They're not data objects in the sort of RMI sense, but kind of jumbled up XML that you can infer some relationships, etc. And then associated functionality, so sending notifications and getting people's friends, that type of thing. There's a thing called this is popular for some reason. Again, if people like interface, the API, apparently actually the API is called anyway, over at Facebook. It has some advantages, namely the reduction of bandwidth and parsing time, which we use. Plus, it's a great way to consolidate multiple requests, or generally make some requests that the API doesn't already provide. So, good. Making some kind of obscure way to get friends, you're better off using SPF2L. It's going to be a lot faster, a lot cleaner. And, it generally provides a pretty clean, consistent interface as well. That's the thing. There's HTML, so they also rolled their own sort of markup language. It's more kind of a rigid language, though. It gives you sort of out-of-the-box functionality like friend selectors and just a whole range of things. Drop-down selectors, dashboard, navigation tabs, everything in CSS, everything. It's all really good. There's also a fairly new thing called Fpjs. It's sort of, again, a JavaScript-like language. Doing things in Java. It's not really, well, it sort of looks like JavaScript, but there's a lot of limitations for an assortment of reasons. It essentially creates a virtual scope to your app. And they basically protect users' privacy, but there's probably a lot more to do with stop pop-up advertising and an assortment of things that you can get away with. They don't want you to get away with. Facebook's pretty strict about the regulations. There's a lot of sort of restrictions on when I get to in the note when it's the page. Maybe I should have started with some background. So I originally was using our Facebook, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, for about almost 6 months now. I've built a number of apps. Recently just got into Facebook with some also stuff now and compare some of the differences. So it's pretty well versed. Still find it hard to use though. There's times when things are really confusing and don't make a lot of sense. In that sense, it's not a very sort of academic API and cost the same. So there's essentially two types of Facebook apps. There's the Canvas, which is encouraged by Facebook, allows you to use HTML, which you probably want to use. It's going to speed your development time. It's going to give you a consistent look and feel, without anything at all. There's also an iframe, which works just like regular iframe. So it allows you to embed an external site in your default Facebook Canvas layout. But the cost, of course, is there's no HTML, which you can see in a minute. Am I going too fast at all? No? So as far as Ruby goes, there's a few options. Our Facebook is the original one. Right now it's really well documented. But sort of the active development has kind of slipped off. It's not as actively developed. Facebook. I don't think there's still actually a 1.0, but occasionally there's a release that comes out. There's talk that it's going to merge with Facebook anyway. And so basically how it works is you use mechanisms to essentially wrap the API and gives it a really lightweight, flexible interface to the API. And as a result, though, it ends up more looking just like the PHP API itself. So you may or may not like that. The Facebooker came along, which was Chad Fowler. You probably know. It was basically started in his response to an assortment of our Facebook problems that he had. And it's essentially both a concrete class implementation. So there's an actual object model, really well thought out with. It's very, very academic compared to our Facebook. It's very actively developed as well. There's, I think, 4 or 5 core committers, lots of patches, and lots of just general activity going on. Well, not lots, but a fair amount. But it's not documented at all. I put a post up. I think there's one other one. But that's going to change. The guy, Mark, I'm not sure if his last name, I think it's Maggie. He's actually writing a book. Which is going to come out. And then, of course, you can do it yourself. Hey, Jordan. You do this. Yeah, literally, just session management. Yeah, so maybe I should just explain kind of what they both do in general. Is a fairly complicated session management that goes on between your app and Facebook. You're sort of passing session keys back and API keys, and all this has to be maintained with every single request. It's totally simple. So that's really what both of these do for you. As an application developer, you don't want to be doing that. So they essentially handle that session management, and then a lot of sort of URL rewriting for Rails, obviously. That's where they're supposed to have a dominant. But that's where they diverge. Okay, so last night, it was kind of late. I threw together a quick app using Facebooker. So just a little more history. Just started using Facebooker for a recent project. Started about 2 weeks ago. Really had to kind of dig in and sort of read the code. And there's a message board, or not, an actual mailing list. And it's pretty helpful as well. So basically, what you're seeing is not the entire thing. It's just I took some excerpts out. So I'm just going to skip the whole build your Rails app and go to Facebook, register a project because it's all really well documented. You can immediately see it. At this point, you've already created your Rails app. You've installed the plugin itself. It's a simple script plugin install with the URL, and you're basically ready to go. So this is your first controller, and really, there's a couple of different filters to ensure your application is installed by the Facebook user. There's also a way to check that they're logged in. I probably don't actually need it here. So so the feed, I'm using feed tools to grab the Ruby mailing list. Nice hard-coded URL there. And right here is the first bit of our Facebooker that you're going to see. It's essentially a call into the session, and then you can use the actual object model itself. So there's a user object. I'll show you all this in a minute. And then there's this profile HTML. So in Facebook, you might be familiar with you have these little boxes on your profile. What that does is set the content for that box. So this is one of the really big restrictions on Facebook is that particular box. For one thing, all the content has to be pushed to it. You can't sort of actively pull content onto it. And when the page loads as well, it's all static content to push to it deliberately for performance reasons. And you can imagine if you had 20 apps trying to make 20 kind of calls, single refresh. So that can kind of actually poses a lot of problems. One of the things I work on is called virtual vacations, where you sort of have a state of a vacation and it's changing every day. So if we can't have that particular piece of the app update itself, we have to actually push content to it every day. I had to come up with a tricky way to do that and still stay within legitimate performance system. So let's see for that. There's also an invite method. I'll show you that in a minute. Again, it's just grabbing the current user, and the current user's friend. Actually, the object model really is well put together. Well, it's very intuitive once you get into it. There's your basic view with the index. At the top there, I have a kind of invite friends link. Nothing really. And then I'm sort of iterating through the feed items and putting them out. Of course, you're not seeing the CSS. That's not that important. One thing that I sort of left out on the previous page is that HTML wrapper tag that has to be on every serial piece of HTML. that you provide. And also, if you notice this is Rails 2.0, so if you look at the actual name of the file, it's got .html in there. That's critical. So we'll find that out pretty fast. So there's at the top there's a dashboard, so it's generating a dashboard for me. Actual button for joining the app. Another I pretty not recommend. Actually, if you look at the sort of about a third of the way down, you see multi-friend selector. So that's an example of a FPGA widget where it's providing you with an entire interface for sort of selecting friends and then adding them, and then it passes it off to your app, and then what you have to do something with it. So I got on the left here, you can add this little link, to the FPGA. So right now it's actually grabbing the content from Google and then posting it up. That's the method you saw. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. This one? Oh, I mean the little link on the corner? No, that's actually in your settings. Let me show that. Yeah, there's a kind of a settings panel that you kind of get used to. So if you go into your, see there's a developer app. So one of the things I skipped was, which is well documented, and you don't need to compute, is actually adding the developer app. So when you go to developers.facebook.com and just follow the instructions and add this developer app. And once you have this, then you have a lot of options. Follow you up. See my app. I don't know what that is. This is also where you create a new app and then apply for it to become public. It's not public automatically in the Facebook directory. You have to apply, and they review it. That particular icon is loaded. Right here. And then by specifying that, it actually puts it in the left. Maybe I'll review this real quick too here. So this is the callback URL. That's the callback to your app. One of my caveats about Facebook is it took me a number of days to figure it out. And somebody actually finally told me the answer was that don't put path names in your callback URL. Because it's a really strange thing that happened. As soon as I pulled it out, everything worked. So this is your app. The name of your app. Just redirect to. In order to see your app, I'm not really sure. You have to change it to yes. You have to set that user can see it, and then at the bottom there's an option to set for developers. It is not actually set. Here's developer mode. So if you only want your sort of developer friends to see it, then you have to add them here. I haven't added anything. You gotta save it. And then it says it takes a few minutes, but it's easy to do. So, the friend selector I talked about. Did I show that already? So that was just that one tag, that multi-selector tag that I put in, and I specified a few parameters to give me all that. It really speeds up your development time. I mean, there are certain things you just can't do, and you have to use an iPhone. If you can get away with it. yeah, there's definitely samples of the sticky app of the mix it do. So that was the last thing that really this app has is when I run it, it updates my profile. So here in my profile, I can view messages and whatever. But again, this is of course not really ready for production. So you'd have to manually update that every time there's a change. So if a new message comes in, your app is going to have to go out and repopulate it. There's actually a way to populate because this is not specific to me. Because you can make, you can have for each individual person, they can have a different profile. There's a way to update them all at once. It's much faster. Alright, so just some Facebooker suggestions. I'll probably save you a lot of time. When I mentioned the callback URL, don't put a path in it. It'll probably be fixed eventually. But what happens is the rewrites get all screwed up and you get all kinds of methods and errors. Of course, if you do that now, you have to specify a route for the Facebook group. Put the canvas for sure. Also recommend joining the Facebook software. Now our Facebook has a sort of Pixie sort of forum page, but there's not a lot of activity. I tried to contact the guy that runs it on Don, and he's got no response. Whereas I emailed Chad Fowler and got a response to that, and got lots of help. Yeah, bear in mind, it's still on the bottom. I'll sort of put these in here if I don't do it anyway. Any questions? Sure. I may have. Yeah, well, the authentication I talked about was really more specific to the Facebook app and communicating with your app. But yeah, how would you do that? Well, there's a couple of different ways to do it. The easiest way would be to just create a Facebook controller in your app that uses your model. And you might have to add a column to your user class or whatever that's the Facebook ID. Some way to track the actual. There's a Facebook user ID that you can use. So you want some way to track that, just so you know in Facebook who you are. And they're still going to have to go to your app and install it on Facebook. There are things like there's a thing called Pages now. It depends what you're trying to do. There's a thing called Pages now that don't require any authentication on the Facebook side. No, you can do that. I mean, you can do that in your app. You just have a basic box that allows them to. You could grab a certain amount of information, like the actual user class. The user class in Facebook kind of describes it in terms. You're going to be able to grab quite a bit of stuff from Facebook about the actual user. Of course, it depends on how long they've input the information. That's all blank. But yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't have your app. For one thing, if it's literally the same app, but it's a different controller, then you're talking to the same database. You could then, one of the apps we'll work on is actually an external app for performance reasons when it uses REST. You could just make it external. Probably not a bad idea. It depends. I think to get started, you could just have it in your app and have a basic, whatever you want to capture in your Facebook app, could then just populate your database. I mean, the app's running on your machine. Facebook is really sort of mediating communication and interaction with the user. Yeah, it does. Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of people are using it as a kind of sort of marketing tool. So they'll have individual Facebook apps or categories of their product, or you can call them Addicted, that's really popular. Addicted to all the different types of TV shows. And yeah, again, it's all pretty curious stuff. I mean, there actually are some pretty profitable apps, like Sticky, that does $45,000 a month on advertising. But they just look cookies in it. So I mean, that's the other model is the hook advertising. As far as making money with it. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, the apps are still, they're still pretty for the most part. You know, I don't really look at it very much. I see what I have to do with my own. But yeah, there's a full range. Yeah. No, it's a great. I mean, it gives you the Facebook viral marketing tool right out of the box. Everybody's friends and adding their friends, and could be any kind of potential growth of people who are tagging on. Because there's definitely stories of people, two guys putting an app together over the weekend, and then having 300,000 users on Tuesday, sort of scrambling to try to keep up. Yeah, I think I'm not really much of a business guy, but the guys I work for. That's a sort of model. I do. No, there's lots of money to be made on advertising. So I work for one of the apps I do is virtual vacation. So part of their marketing or their advertising is then offering an actual vacation. So virtual vacations just go and give you a sort of account of your vacation, and it tracks each individual day. And then sort of at the end, there's options to go on a real vacation. So that's the sort of time. And that's just the sky's the limit. I mean, for one thing, you have a huge audience. So if you have a huge audience, you can find a way to do things you do. Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course, the marketing that's a big deal. If you go to the individual app. If you go to the website, no, that would be cool. Well, you might be able to do it. Yeah, no, as far as I know, you don't. It's got a pretty good interface. I'll show you. It's come a long way. The original one wasn't. They got a more stat. You click my app, you get a more stat. You get a bunch of diagrams and then a lot of views. So yeah, basically, and then you can get sort of total ads removed, unique ads, and give you daily activity, like a percentage of the activity. So if you have 10,000 users and 1,000 of them are using it, then you're going to 10%. Yeah, for sure. That's in our SCDB data. There's an ability to invite your friends. So it'll give you a list of your friends. And then I can click on any of my friends, send that to them, and they'll get an invitation to add the app. They can ignore it. Yeah, that's the kind of sort of viral nature of it. Yeah, well, I mentioned the virtual vacations. So that was that was my first sort of legitimate production. Essentially, it's a virtual vacation. So you go on a vacation for 4 days. The initial app was pretty simple. That's all it was, and it just showed random pictures for different locations. So there's location, and then you on vacation. As it went on, we sort of developed it where you could actually sort of page through your vacation and write comments about it. And there's a kind of a spin-off called Spring Break where you're actually going on vacations with other people, and then you can sort of go hang on the beach, so you can sort of buy them drinks. And it's done moderately well. So what do you mean by collaboration? Yeah. Well, you can sort of gift vacations to other people. Then you have like a passport history. So I have a little passport there of all the vacations that I went on. Yeah, that's it. Check it out as well. Pay my mortgage. And well, I guess it's really more. I think it's more of a. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's. It's really more kind of a cultural phenomenon that's popped up. Yeah. Yeah. One of the new features is create your own vacation. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. I don't really make the song. Um. I'm not totally familiar, but yeah, that sounds familiar. I remember reading something like that. There's definitely a mobile. Yeah, you can get on your regular stuff, and there's a part of the API is there's a mobile API. But yeah, it's not very exciting. It's all sort of text based. Like when you do a notification, you have to specify what kind of app it is. Yeah, but well, the API, yeah, the API is the developers that make that file. And there's also a wiki. Oh, they do for sure. Yeah. Well, there's two things going on. Yeah. Yeah, there's two things going on. There's a REST API, and then there's what I was talking about, which is a Ruby binding for the API. So in other words, you could do it yourself and just create XML and handle all the session management and everything yourself. If you're using Ruby, you probably use XML or something. Or you could use one of these existing. Oh, Canvas. Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to reset in your app. I've never actually done an iframe that. Maybe Jordan could probably. No. Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I know. I talked to the guys that did sticky app, and they do it. Yeah, because I mean, HTML is being parsed by Facebook. So. Yeah, I think you can, right? Okay. No, because the sticky guys definitely, because before the video widget came out, that's how they were serving the video. Unless it's changed. What's the other thing about Facebook API? It changes about every year. Somebody misunderstood. Are you talking about, what do you mean by a different website? Yeah. Oh. Open. You're thinking of open social. That's somewhat of a competing technology. Actually, Facebook sort of I think I haven't really got into it, but so open social is totally different topic. I mentioned it. Not related. It's a Google code project to sort of allow you more or less to do the same thing. So you can have your specific app be served up in MySpace, or whoever the MySpace is already on board. And so you can basically serve same basic idea. You're serving your app, it's appearing in MySpace. People are interacting with it, but it's all JavaScript based. So actually, it looks like Facebook, in response to that, came out with a client library. I haven't really looked into it, but probably. Of course, you can serve up your data using other social protocols. Other people can use your data. Yeah, super poke. I think the card games are really popular, like the Texas Hold'em. Yeah, I couldn't really answer the question accurately. I like that. Yeah. It was War. War is pretty popular. Yeah. Coffee cookies. I haven't actually had a chance to look at it. Yeah, it looks like it's so it allows you to make Facebook API calls from any website. The server does not require any server-side code. So basically, it looks like more or less what OpenSocial is. open source was entirely JavaScript library for communicating, and a set of protocols or conventions for passing data around. I think if Facebook, if they were starting now, they probably would have came up with this solution first. But I think, there's also, the HTML comes in really handy as well. So, it's really more of a complete solution in that sense. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely see that a lot. There's a lot of restrictions from some of the reasons. I mean, they were in a lot of trouble about 3 months ago, right? When they were sort of tracking user patterns. Escaped me now, but they got in a bunch of trouble for sort of tracking patterns and then using the data. Sort of an example of they were just sort of publishing events, things that you were doing that you go see. Yeah. It's good or bad. Yeah. It's probably a little. Yeah. It certainly does that in these days. You could sort of, a lot of people use AdSense. Again, I'm really not an expert on it. But people have to set up their own sort of click-through deals. Yeah, you think they would. No. Yeah, you think that would be a good idea. Yeah. Hard to know. I think making money directly through advertising. And sort of page views, I mean, all these entrepreneur guys, it's all about page views. They want to maximize the page views. Oh, you can. You can forward it to your site. Yeah, a lot of people use it. Yeah, so this is just a kind of an introductory to their app. That's pretty common. Oh, yeah, yeah. Somebody tried to buy it. Well, I think he sold a chunk of it to Microsoft. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty small. Yeah, which ended up valuing it like $15 million. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, especially if you're making, if you're making money off it, you're going to get taxed, one way or another. Well, I think Yahoo tried to buy it, right? I think offered him the money. But he didn't. Yeah. That's it.
That concludes this episode of the SD.RB podcast. See you next time.